Hello everyone! In today's tutorial, I will explain how to use histogram to improve lighting in post-production. The software I'll use to demonstrate today is Adobe Lightroom. However, the general rules will apply to any photo editing or video editing tools. A histogram is a graphical representation of the tonal values of your image. In other words, it shows the amount of tones of particular brightness found in your photograph, ranging from black, 0% brightness, to white, 100% brightness. The left side of the graph represents the blacks or shadows. The right side represents the highlights or whites, and the middle section is midtone. Histograms usually display information for three primary colors, red, green, and blue, and are known as RGB histograms, such as the histogram shown here. Each pixel in an image has a color which has been produced by some combination of the primary colors, red, green, and blue. Each of these colors can have a brightness value ranging from 0 to 255 for a digital image with a bit depth of 8 bits. A RGB histogram results when the computer scans through each of these RGB brightness values and counts how many are at each level from 0 through 255. Histograms are great tools for photography because they allow you to do two key things. First of all, a histogram tool on a DSLR will allow you to see how balanced the composition you're shooting is before you shoot it. Is it too heavy on the darks? Or are the darks lost in the composition? Are the whites too bright? All the detail washed out of them? An in-camera histogram can give you a rough idea of how your image will take or has taken. If a certain portion of the histogram is touching either edge, it will indicate loss of detail, also called clipping. Highlight clipping occurs if the graph is touching the right side of the histogram. Detail can never be recovered when a region becomes too overexposed that it becomes solid white. When this occurs, the highlights are said to be clipped or blown. Shadow clipping occurs if the graph is touching the left side of the histogram. Either case can be often fixed by altering exposure settings. Almost most cameras will produce mid-tone-centric histograms when in an automatic exposure mode. The distribution of peaks within a histogram also depends on the tonal range of the subject matter. Images where most of the tones occur in the shadows are called low-key, whereas with high-key images, most of the tones are in the highlights. A histogram can also describe the amount of contrast. Contrast is a measure of the difference in brightness between light and dark areas in a scene. Broad histograms reflect a scene with significant contrast, whereas narrow histograms reflect less contrast and may appear flat or dull. Exposure is the amount of light that reaches your camera sensor. It controls the overall brightness of your photo. Your images will get darker when you slide it to the left and brighter towards the right side. Underexposed images have a lack of light compared to the original scene, and overexposed images are exactly the opposite. It is an image that is brighter than it should be. In a well-balanced photo, the details are not lost in the shadows or burned out in highlights, and in general, it has a similar look as the original scene. Highlights only affect the brightest area of the image by making them darker or brighter when you move it to the left or right respectively. You can use it to bring back lost detail in these areas. The shadow slider affects only the darkest area. It is useful for recovering details in the shadows, sliding to the right, or making them darker when you slide it to the left. By moving the white slider to the right, you can make the white tones brighter and wider. Unlike highlights, that affects only the brightest pixels. This too affects the overall image. The black slider adjusts the black point of the image. This video is brought to you by the Muse Video Consultant in Mount Holyoke College. Special thanks to the following websites for video tutorials and sound. Thank you for watching this tutorial.